Do you want to know the difference between a good leader and a great leader? Great leaders aren't just solution focused. Instead, they start by making sure they're focusing on the right problem. If you want to make the right decision, you have to start with the right problem. Story time. I got a call from a company who had a technology problem. They had bought some software that just wasn't working. They wanted to hire me to bring me in and source new technology and then implement it. Something we help clients with all the time. So we got on a few calls and very quickly, it was pretty evident that the tech wasn't their problem. In fact, the tech that they had did everything that they needed it to do. They just hadn't implemented it properly because of the actual problems that they needed to solve. 1, there was a lack of understanding across the whole organization on why the technology was important and where it was going to get them in the future. 2, there was a lack of support and accountability from senior leadership on using and reinforcing usage of that software and technology. 3, a lack of communication and collaboration between departments to define requirements and processes, regardless of the technology. 4, data that wasn't clean, with an unclear definition of data points and a lack of understanding of which ones were important. Without first solving these 4 problems, it didn't matter what technology we brought in. They weren't going to be able to implement it successfully. Identifying the right problem is often more crucial than actually solving them. Many organizations and leaders struggle to articulate what their actual problem is. If you want to make sure you're solving the right problems, you got to make sure you're using Liz's rules. Number 1, plan for problems. You're going to run into problems. Even the best laid plans are going to encounter some roadblocks along the way. And the longer and more complex the thing you're trying to do is, the more likely you're going to encounter some issues. Prepare your team for this. Encourage open communication about issues. People want to say everything's fine and they're just fixing it. But we need to know what's working and what's not so we can make better decisions about how to pivot if necessary. Demonstrate transparency and vulnerability yourself with the team. Show them what's not working for you, what went wrong, what mistakes you made, and how you pivoted and learned from those mistakes. The more we can be open about what's not working and honest that something isn't going to, the better prepared we are. Number 2, have a process. Okay, we know we're going to have problems. We need to define a process for how those problems are brought up and discussed. We can't just wing it. How, who, and when do you bring up issues and work through what's working and what's not? You need to have a process for people to bring up problems and identify what's not working. And it can't just be bitching about it at the water cooler with you or in Slack or Teams, the virtual equivalent of that these days. And last but not least, don't change direction off of one person's feedback. Collect all the feedback, but make sure that we're vetting it out and not changing direction because one person says it's an issue. 3, gather feedback. Now that we know there's an issue, let's make sure we really understand what's going on, what the actual problem is. Seek the opinion of a diverse group of people, your customers, your employees, your peers, different stakeholders who can help you understand what's happening and what the problem might actually be. Don't play the blame game. It's tempting to point fingers on what happened. That's not really productive. We need to know what went wrong so that we can be solution-oriented and focus on how we can do it different in the future. Once finger pointing starts, redirect the conversation to solutions, not the past. Make sure you listen to what's not being said. That's often more important than what's actually being said. People have a hard time articulating what actually is wrong. Listen to what's not there to understand what the needs and the gaps really are. And finally, I like to say, be a toddler when you're gathering feedback. You know how they always ask you why? 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 Toyota and Six Sigma have the 5 why model, which basically just means asking why 5 times to really get to the root of the problem, the question, or what we're trying to do. So don't just take a problem at face value. Ask why. and then ask it again and again and again. Number 4, make it visual. People need to have something to react to. So start creating a problem statement and write down what's not working. Share it with the group. People will usually have an easier time reacting to something and telling you that's not it than starting from scratch and articulating what their actual issue is. Gain alignment on this problem statement as you talk to people and tweak it as necessary to fully capture the actual issue that you're trying to solve. Remember, as you're developing this problem statement, clarity is kindness and clear over clever. Let's make sure everybody understands what's really going on and not confuse it with a lot of corporate jargon and words that don't really have any meaning. 5, know your role. Remember, your role as a leader within the organization is not to be the sole problem solver. Instead, think of yourself as a problem Sherpa for your team and the organization, guiding them through the issues that are raised and helping them figure out how to get to the other side. I want you to make sure that you're going slow. Yes, we get shit done, but we need to know what the actual problem is that we're solving first before we move forward. Make sure you're carving out enough time to perform this exercise, but set some deadlines and stick to them. Accountability to move forward. And finally, remember, your job is to coach, and coach some more. How can you help the leaders underneath you understand how to identify and solve the right problem? Use each problem or issue that comes up as an opportunity to coach your team onto their future successes. So, what happened to the company that thought they had the wrong technology? We worked together to help solve the right problems. They didn't end up switching their tech. Instead, we worked to better define their processes and their data. And then we overlaid the technology they already had to support them in a better way. This ended up saving them time and money, as well as created a better experience for employees and customers alike. So you have to solve the right problems if you want to work on the right things. And if you need some more help working on the right things, check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. Make it a great one.